This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Sai. We're learning today Sefer Rus. We are continuing our Seder, and we're in Parak Beis, Pasuk Tes Vav. We just learned in Pasuk Yodaled that Boaz told her at mealtime, eat from the lechem and dip your pitech b'chometz. And the Malvim explained the difference between lechem and pas. Lechem is the loaf, pas is the slice that has been sliced off from the loaf. Let's remind ourselves that there was very clear instructions from Boaz to Rus. And that is, Rus said she's going to collect after the Koitzrim. And Boaz says to Rus, he says, V'choisid bakim im na'aroisoi. And that's in Pasuk Ches. I want you staying not with the men, with the females. In other words, Boaz says, well, you may think in a working environment it's okay. No, the genders must be separated. Not like in this country where there's no separation anywhere anymore, but genders must be separated even during Avodah. He says, when they're harvesting, follow the female harvesters. Follow the females. I told the males at Sivisias Hanorim, I told the boys, don't touch you. Okay, and remember that, because even though Rus was a big tzaddikas, but let me explain something very clearly to you. Very important. And that is, you could be a big tzaddik, but your mind may not necessarily be in tune with Daas Torah yet. And just because a person went to yeshiva for many years, they may not understand the concept of gender separation. And we're going to see she may not have got it. How could such a thing be? She was a big tzaddikas. Very nice, she's a big tzaddikas. It takes time to be acclimated. You know, sometimes the rabbi gets up and speaks about mechitza, and people say, mechitza, what do you think's happening? Nobody's looking. Yeah, that's what you think. That's what you think, nobody's looking. People, it takes time for the human mind to appreciate the concept of separation. We're going to see, even though Boaz, the Gadol gives very clear instructions, Imna Roisoi, she may not have gotten it. Okay, this is going to be...
That speaks about her character, but her background was totally different.
In other words, right.
So the fact that Tzaddikas doesn't overcome her background yet.
Correct. Okay, so Rabbi said we're in Pasuk Tes Vav. Vatakam lalakit. She gets up to collect. Vayitzav Boaz es na'arav lemar. Boaz commands his attendants, saying, Gam ben ha'amarim talaket. Even among the stalks she could collect. V'loy sachli muha, and do not shame her. Here, interesting, the Targum translates amarim differently than he did before. If you remember, last week we learned that what did amarim mean? What did amarim mean? What? No, amarim meant something else last week. The stalks. Where did we have that? There it says, "Va'amars etzbar ka'an ve'echnoish shoivlin ba'alumaya." There he says, it's the taich of the word amarim is shoivlim. Here the taich of it is what? Here, interesting. V'kamas lemizbar shuvalin. She went up to collect stalks, and he says af. Right? V'atagim lalaket. And gam ben ha'amarim, the Targum translates as alumaya, the bundles. So apparently, it's not always so clear what the word amarim meant. Here it means alumaya, the bundles. Before it meant the stalks of the bundles.
Maybe you could deduce from here that at the beginning she was only able to collect from things that maybe fell or were loose, first quality stuff. Now he's saying to the Naram, let her go and collect the better stuff. Yeah. Don't tell her no.
No, that's not the question. Is what does the word amarim mean? Beforehand, the Targum translates it as Shubalaya. Here he translates it as Alumai. So the Rambam says like this: V'atakam alake. Misaper, it's relating. Kiloi himtina ad she yivarchu apoilam berchas hamazoin. What does it mean? She got up to collect. Obviously, if she's collecting, she got up. What's the emphasis on getting up to collect? The answer is she didn't wait for the zimun. Why not? The answer is because women are not part of a zimun. So, it's considered promiscuous. It's considered slightly lewd for women to participate in the zimun. In other words, when men do the zimun, the women are not part of the zimun. They could answer, but they're not part of the zimun. The take of what? Why not? They could. Yes.
Why is that not?
But they're not part of the count.
They're not part of the count. They're not participants of the active count. The take of kamalakit. So she got up quickly to collect. V'az siva Boaz es nar of Lamar. Then Boaz commanded his attendant, saying, "Gam ben ha'amorim talaked ratzalomer im talaked ben ha'amorim." Even if she collects among the bundles, lo telchu la'ayin achareha. Don't go to look after her. Im loy ganva iza oimer. If she didn't steal something, shebazeh chlimua. This would shame her. Ki nechshada kaganav, that you're suspecting her as a ganav. In other words, yes, in her mind she's collecting only leket. But if she goes and takes other bundles which are not leket, don't stop her. I love this pasuk, this malbim. This is my favorite piece. V'gam shota shoylula min atzvasim v'azavtem v'likita v'loi sigaruva v'gam shota shoylula min atzvasim. Drop for her from the small bundles. Shoyl, like forget. In other words, an ani is allowed to take shikha. Purposely forget. Drop things on the floor.
But only from the small bundles.
From the small bundles. Otherwise, it can't be a show. I mean, you can't accidentally drop a huge bundle. You don't accidentally forget a huge bundle. A smaller bundle you could accidentally forget.
Give it to her. Why are you making her go through this charade? Just give it to her. We'll give her a matana.
We'll see. Va'azavtem, and forsake it. So this pasuk is a pella. Without the malbim, you can't understand it. Forget it and leave it. It's a double lashon. Why forget it and leave it?
Well, what if you leave it and then forget it?
What are these two things? Shoyl tashaylula, forget it and leave it. What's the halacha with shikha? Is it chayiv in meiser or is it pater from meiser? When an ani gets shikha, does an ani have to give meiser? No. Once the ani gets shikha, it's pater from shumas and meisers. But it's not shikha, it's a facade, it's a fake. So they're going to be machshel her. They're gonna make believe they forgot it. She's gonna pick it up. It's tevel. She's chayiv misa. So we have a big problem here. You want to put on a charade as if you're giving tzedakah, but it's not shikha. Va'azavtem. After you make believe you forgot it, be mafker it. If you're mafker something, it's pater from shumas and meisers. That's the meaning over here. Says the Malbim, "V'gam shal tashoylula min atzvasim shetanichu tzvasim b'tara shikha." Leave it as shikha, kedei shetikach oisam, so she should take it. V'yamar va'azavtem ki tzvasim eila chayavim b'trumas u'maisros. These little bundles are chayav in truma ma'isa. Achar shebe'emes einam shikha, because the truth is it's not shikha. Al ze Omar. Therefore, it says takana sheyafkiru oisam. Be mafkirid v'hefker pater mitrumas u'maisros. V'likta v'loy sigaruba ratzaloymar, meaning uvechol oifen shetalaket loy sigaruba. Whatever she collects, don't yell at her. Av shetalaket shloikadin, even if it's against the halacha. Uvezeh kalal hakoil. In other words, this was a general command. Shetuchal hakaras ka'avas nafsha ki kavanasa lefarnas b'chavod. In other words, whatever she takes, look the other way.
Is she allowed to take shikha? Was she?
She is. She's an ani. She's a ger. She's a geyres. Geyres is like an ani vevin. She doesn't have relatives. She'd be authorized to take the shikha.
So why is he talking about shalok kedin? What does she do with shalok kedin?
Even if she, sometimes an ani, once they're taking leket shekampeah, the chaparayin thing shalok kedin. So even if she does that, he's saying look the other way.
Is payah chayav in truma ma'aser?
No.
But there, it's not like it was hefker or anything. It's designated as Shiur. So what is the difference between Shikha and Peah in terms of why you have to go through this?
Peah is pater from Meiser. Shikha is also pater from Meiser. But it wasn't real Shikha. He was saying purposely drop it. So she'll think it's Shikha, but if it's not really Shikha,
It's not Peah.
it's not pater, right? That was the trick over here. That was the chaf. Okay.
What are they doing for Ross that they wouldn't be doing for others? I mean,
Deliberately leaving us.
Deliberately forgetting. In other words, normally,
why would they?
what does he have with this girl? What's up with her? He has a hunch he's going to marry her.
He has a hunch.
Yeah, I mean, Rashi said he noticed her in her unusual chachma. He noticed in her unusual tznius. We're going to see he has a nevuah that Malchus Beis David is going to come from her. So the question is, if he has a hunch, go over to her and say, let's,
Available. Can I see your resume?
What seminary did you go to? What?
He took good care of her.
Her mother-in-law. Correct.
But who's the Baal Mafkir here?
Boaz.
So what's you got to tell them? He's the one he's going to do it anyhow.
It's all happening.
Why do they have to be mafker? You mean?
No, I'm saying, are they the ones who do it? He's the one who has to be mafkir. He's the owner.
I mean, he should be mafkaret. Over here, he's giving them reshus to be mafkaret. Now, could you give someone reshus to be mafkar something?
Why does he have to go through hoops? Be mafkaret, period. What are you giving him reshus? Do it
No,
yourself.
because she's going to be embarrassed.
Be mafkaret. In his mind.
No, she's not gonna. He doesn't really think she's gonna take stuff that doesn't belong to her. So she'll take shikha. So he's telling them, forget it. Once they forget it, he's telling them to be mafkar. Can you appoint a shliach to be mafkar something?
Well, they're his employees. They have an obligation to protect his property. So unless he gives them
Could you
permission
appoint someone to
to
be
be
mafkar
mafkar,
something?
they're not fulfilling their.
They're the ones.
they're not
Chayra,
fulfilling
it's
their
not
job.
pashut. You could appoint someone to be mafkar something.
He's telling him, just look.
Because even though Zachin La'anav Shaloi B'fanav, there's a famous Ksoi Sachoshen, Zachin Li'adam Shaloi B'fanav, V'loi Mei Adam. Is there a chilakei of Mishnah Berurah here? There's a shadow whether somebody could do bittul chametz for you. And even,
You can't be your shaliach?
maybe not. The tzad that you can is because it's not really yours anyway, it's only, I think it's not pasha that you could appoint someone to be mevatel chametz for you. No, but since the Torah takes it out of your rishus, because it's asur b'hana, the mela, it's not yours.
What are we talking about?
What?
Chametz beforehand is not also going at all. It's Erev Pesach.
Doo-doo-doo. Could you appoint a shliach? Shlucha yachal levatel. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Daf agav de bitul hu mitam hefker. V'ha'omer lechaver lech v'hefker nechasi ein beklach kum ad sheyafkireim hu ba'atzmai. Hachal le'inyan chametz yish lahakal shere chametz b'shosh over leval yirov v'aymas ein ha'shalosh shere asa b'hana. Ela shatar hamida b'shusa then sheyamar. Lo lefiko b'gilei das ovad shemagala daitoi v'yesh machmirin v'shas adchak yish lahakal. So you're asking, okay, the Mishnah Berurah says very clearly you can't appoint a shliach to be mafkar, so how could he tell the Pailam to be mafkaret?
He's doing
Didn't he
the
answer it? It was after this
We're
month.
talking about chametz. We're talking about grain.
I hear it. It's a good ha'ara on the Malbim.
Is it possible that the Polim somehow got paid in portion of what it is they worked, and he was kind of implying to them, I want you to make hefker what it is that normally would be yours, so this way they would have be able to do their own hefker because it was really theirs, and he makes a deal with them later on, and I'll reimburse.
Maybe there is a svar that if you pay somebody and they become a payol yad ki yad balabayis, which is, by the way, how mechiras chametz works. In other words, how could you appoint a rav to sell your chametz for you? The shaila is very nice. You have chametz now, right? So let's say you sell the chametz let's say you have chametz now, so you authorize the Rav to sell your chametz, but presumably you're going to be buying more chametz after you authorize the Rav. And in other words, how could you authorize a Rav to sell chametz you don't even own yet? The answer is that's why you give the Rav money. And then the Rav becomes your payal. And yad payal ki yad bal habayis. So the shaila is now over here, if they're being paid, could they be mafgar the possessions? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Okay, weiter. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Vatalakit basada ad ha'arev. She collected in the field until the evening. Vatachboit es ashar liketa. What does it mean, vatachboit? What does vatachboit mean? She hit. Chavat. What do you have over there? Vidashas. She threshed it. Yeah, in other words, she beat out all the mites, all the chaff and all the refuse. She beat it out. Why? She's gonna be carrying it home. She doesn't want to have extra burden. Okay, and the pasuk continues. It was a ephah of barley. Now, what is the significance of an ephah? Well, Rabbi Isai, we learned a number of times a very special formula. It's called what? Blaksa 6463. Remember this?
Yeah.
There's 6 bayim in a lug. There are 4 lug in a kav. There's 6 kav in a sa. There are 3 sa in an ephah. How many?
Yeah. How many eggs?
400.
Yeah, in the hundreds. How many eggs in an ephah?
How many kav in an ephah? There's 6 eggs, right? We know the oimer, the haman asiris ha'ephah. That means how much is an asiris ha'ephah? How many eggs in an ephah? 6463 is 432, and a tenth of that is 43.2, which is the shir chala. The way to remember it is chala is the gematria 43, right? Chala is 43.
You need 43.2.
Yeah. How do you get the chala is like this? Chala is 43, and then the 0.2. There's another part of the mnemonic I'm not remembering right now. But how many kav in an ephah? 18. How many kav in a core?
How many cores in an ephah?
How many kav in a core? I think there's 30 kav in a core. Okay? Now here's the formula. The formula goes like this. That peya, in a field it's 4 kav per core. That means 4.
So 72 kav a minute.
Basically, a field of a core produces 4 kav of leket. Usually, typically. So if she collected an ephah, and an ephah is 18 kav, that's 4.5 times a core. So basically that means the field of Bayaz is 4.5 core. Okay, that's what the Malbim says. Look in Pasuk Yud Zayin. Says the Malbim, she did not take anything illicitly. Ulam hiloi lakhat savasim shel shikha. She did not take small bundles. Rak vatalake leke levad. All she took was leket. V'loi likta bein ha'amorim. She did not collect the bundles. Rak besada. Yes.
Whatever they left there on purpose.
Exactly. She wouldn't take it. Rak basada. She only took what was in the field. Rak shalikta ad ha'erev. She collected till the evening. In other words, the emphasis is like this. Batelaket. She gathered. What? Basada in the field itself. No bundles. So how'd she get so much? Ad ha'arev. Because she worked until the evening. B'lachin asfa harbe. Vatachbait. She hid it. Kedei shetucha limsai ha'yer. She wanted to be able to carry it to the city. V'lai tisas hakash v'hamoitz. And not carry the bundles, and not carry the stalks and the refuse. Vayihi ke'efa sa'irim. Shehu haleket. That is the leket ha'oila misada that is produced from field. Shehu oisa arba kor v'chetzi. When it makes 4.5 kor. Kamasha Kasav Yushalmi, the pay, like the Yushalmi pay, it says the Shiur Nefila Dalid Kavin Lakor. The Shiur of what it takes to fall is 4 kav per core. Okay, pasuk
This is
Yud
still
Ches.
432 Beitzim, right?
So a
An
core,
ephah is 432, we said, right?
an ephah is 432 eggs, volume of.
That was heavy, right? That's a lot of eggs. I mean, put that in it. She's got to carry, even with the, taking off all the chaff, she still had 432 Beitzah.
A volume of, yes.
Saurim.
Correct.
That's a one big, heavy.
So what's the volume of an egg now? Leked is when something drops. 2 stalks that drop.
Because they forget.
Yeah.
Do we know how many ounces roughly a beya is? 4 ounces?
Look at the standard. Well, it depends on the Noid of Yehuda whether the egg is, today the egg got smaller. Okay. Vatisa, she carried it. Vatava yoyer, she came to the city. Vatera chamoisa, and her daughter-in-law saw Isa Shali Keta, what she collected. Thank you. Chamoisa, her mother-in-law, Isa Shali Keta, what she collected. Vatoitze, she took it out. Vatitenla, she gave it to her. Isa Shar Hoisira, that which was extra, misava, from her being satiated. In other words, Boaz gave her a lot of stuff. Besides the leket, when they sat down to eat, he gave her the lechem, and as the Malbim explained, vayitzbat la kali, he passed her all kinds of nuts and all kinds of treats. So she had a lot of stuff with her. Says the Malbim pasuk Yeches vater chametz ratzon sharasa. She saw utma. She wondered out there. Ki hayir shaloi kederach leket hanes of yom echad. This is not usual for a person to collect so much leket in one day. Besides that, Shenasnala, he gave her Mashasir Misava, what she was left over from being satiated. So she came back with a big, package, a big doggy bag. Eifai likatet hayoim va'ana asis. Where did you collect today, and what did you do?
She thought maybe she stole it. 2
questions. Eifai likatet hayom va'ana asis. Number 1, you have a lot of leket today. Where did you collect all this leket? And number 2, there's no way this is all leket. You must have worked for somebody.
Couldn't part of it be shikha then?
You must have worked for somebody. Maybe shikha are bundles that are forgotten. So, who did you work for? Yehi makirech baruch. Whoever has showed you special attention should be blessed. She told her mother-in-law, Eis asher asasa imai, the one who I worked for? Huh? She didn't work for anybody. She told her mother-in-law the one she worked for. Vatoimer, and she said, Shem ha'ish asher asisi imai hayayim Boaz. The name of the man that I worked for him today is Boaz.
Pasisi imo doesn't really mean I worked for him. It's pasisi, I did imo with him.
So what does this mean?
It's a strange lesson to mean working for him.
So what does this refer to?
Imo is usually together with, not for.
Let's see the Malbim. Vatoimer kimin hamaycho shenasnula. She said, from the food that you have given to me, that she gave to her, Mar shaloi likta ben ho'aniyim. You must not have just collect leket from the aniyim. Rak sha'asasa eza avoida. You must have done some type of work. Leish. This must be your payment. In other words, there are 2 things going on here. An unusually large collection of leket and extra stuff. So who did you collect the leket from? And who did you work for? Where did you get the other stuff from? It's a wonder on so much leket. Who did you work for? You must have worked for someone. That's why I gave you to eat. They don't feed aniyim in the fields. They don't give out nuts to the aniyim. Maybe the aniyim make them nuts, but they don't give out nuts to the aniyim. Must be someone did you a favor. The hikar oischan showed you recognition. Shematzasachin be'inav. Yehi makirech baruch. Batage lachamoisa eis asher asasa imai ratzaloimer shehigida. She told mahadavar she'asasa imai. She said what she did for him. Listen to this. She tells her mother-in-law, you know what I did? Kihu amar la. he told her, Boaz told her, that because she did kindness to her mother-in-law, and because she converted, that's why he finds favor in his. That's why she finds favor in his eyes. Boaz told her, you know why I like you? Number one, your chesed to your mother-in-law. Number two, your conversion l'shem shamayim. That's why he gave her to eat. Here's the big chiddush. To a gadol Yisrael, the fact that Rus did chesed to Nami and that she converted, it was to him as if she did a favor to him. A gadol Yisrael, when he sees ma'asim tovim of somebody, even though he doesn't benefit from it, it's like he personally benefited from it. It's as if he did a good favor. It's like you did something pleasant to him, v'davar tov ve'einav, and something good in his eyes. Upirsha hadavar, she explained, kishem ha'ish, the name of the man, shadvarim eila nechshavim etzlai, who values what I did, kilu asisi imoi, like I did to him, ezatov, hu Boaz, who's shayfet Yisrael, he's the judge, he's the gadol hadar, dvarim ke'ela, noigim loy. This was relevant to him, ki'ilu kibel mimeni eza masal anasa, as if he received something from me directly. So it's a beautiful thought that the way the Malbim's reading the psukim is that I didn't work for anybody, but he valued my chesed so much that it was as if it was done imai to him.
Didn't the Malbim say before that Boaz felt right away when he saw that he was going to marry her? So couldn't you say that he was doing all of this because he wanted to find favor in her eyes in order to be able to marry her? Not.
Well,
I mean, you have a little contradiction here.
He didn't tell her that.
No.
She doesn't know that.
No, but he felt it, right?
He's not letting on anything because actually, in her presence, he makes no attempt to curry favor with her.
Giving her nuts?
He just says, look, here's some cashews. Well, you tell me. If you want to marry a girl, you say, I don't know if handing her peanuts is exactly the... What did you give her? You just gave her peanuts. A loaf of bread. Shalom Aleichem, nice to meet you. Oh, I see you're hungry. Here's a loaf of bread. I mean, I'm not sure if any shidduch ever really kicked off that way with a loaf of bread.
And he told her to stay away from the men.
Look, Boaz is no youngster here. He's over 100 years old.
Either.
Well, he's a smart man, but okay. Let's see. You'll see why nothing official has been offered. He's not proposing in any way to her. We'll see why. Again, she's a Geyeres. You allowed to marry Geyeres? Is a Jew allowed to marry Geyeres? No, you're not. Not right away. You have to wait. How long do you have to wait?
3 months.
3 months. You have to wait Havchana. She just converted on the way to... she just converted when she came.
Yeah, but her husband was dead for a while.
Doesn't matter. Loy plug.
Be with somebody else.
Loy plug, right? So a Geyaris has to wait a minimum of 3 months.
Especially the person who was Gaia. Well, there's an Allah.
No, it's a loy plug. A Geyaris converts, you got to wait 3 months. Lamela, she comes in the beginning of what? What do we have at the end of Parak Aleph? V'hema bo beis lachem b'schilas kitzir soirim Pesach. And now we're talking here ad kilois ktsir soirim ktsir chitim. You got to wait 3 months until anything's offered. Otherwise, there's going to be questions. Oh, you waited 3 months, really? What was that? What was happening before then?
Could you do Erison before?
No.
You can't do anything.
Nothing. Can't talk to her. No, you can't. You can't court her. Certainly not him. Now he's the Gadol Hadar. People are going to be suspicious.
Why aren't you not allowed to court with not having any Kiddushin or Erison?
Are you allowed to court?
Until after 3 months.
That's
the purpose is to be
he's rising above any suspicion. Okay. He's waiting here. Okay. Now, what's Nami's reaction? V'atomer Nami lechalasa. Nami says to her daughter-in-law, Baruch Hu Hashem. First thing is, thank God. Shaloi ozav chasdai, that he did not forsake his chesed, es hachayim, v'es hamesim, with the living and with the dead. Who did not forsake his kindness? I thought it was going on God. It's going on Boaz. Thank God that Boaz did not forsake his chesed for the living and to the dead.
It said Baruch Hu, the word who.
Baruch Hu is Hashem, Baruch Hu.
Maybe Baruch Hu, yeah.
V'atoimer lo nami, karoiv lanu ha'ish. He's related to us, this man. Migoy aleinu. He is from our redeemers. He's not the redeemer. He's one of. Says the Malbim.
First in line.
Says the Malbim. V'atoimer nami lechalasa. Tchila nasna loy bracha. She gave him a bracha. Why Ashaloi Azav Chasda Yisachayim? Ki hivino sha'asa zois lefarnes aidei kain bekavedes nami roshim chayim v'him mishpachta. Nami's not a fool. She realizes that if her daughter-in-law came with such a big goodie bag, it must be the Boaz was looking out for them because they're related, and he must have set it up. But not only is he doing chesed to the living, but he's doing chesed with the dead. Which dead? Ve'yasamesim ki hivino gamkin shi'asa chesed ha'amesim. Al yidei yibum. Here we have it for the first time. He obviously wants to do chesed with the dead. Who's the dead? Machlain. Machlain was the husband of Rus. Machlain died without children. There are two aspects to the yibum. Number one, to marry the deceased wife. This way, we're going to see the deceased is at unrest if he dies without children until somehow he's able to produce children through the vehicle of his wife. That's a mitzvah of Yibum. The other thing is, Machlain has fields, and there's a monetary aspect of Yibum, and that is the closer relative would redeem and buy those fields.
So Rabbi, but when Rus was married to Machlon, she was a Moaviyah. So can you say that there's Yibum with Bichal, Lamafreya, because after she was a Geirus, why would you Michal? Because at the time that Machlon passed away, there was no issue of Yibum here, because she wasn't Jewish.
So l'chayra, there is traditional Yibum does not apply. But the Ramban writes in Chumash, and maybe we'll discuss this more Wednesday, and whatever we learn that affects Wednesday's shir, try to forget for Wednesday. But the Ramban writes that the concept of Yibum applies, and that is, even if it's not the deceased brother, but it was considered a mitzvah for a relative to marry the deceased wife. Let's, for example, Yehuda marrying Tamar, Yehuda was really marrying his son's wife. That's not Yibum, but it's an element of Yibum. It's the concept of Yibum. And here also, what's Boaz's relation to Machlain? Think. Elimelech, Pliny Almoini,
And her father.
Nami's father,
Boaz were all brothers.
and Salmoin, Boaz's father, were brothers. We're brothers. Okay, look back at the first Rashi. The first Rashi in Rus.
The first cousins then? First cousins.
Not the first Rashi.
Pasuk Beis, Rashi Pasuk Beis. Beis.
Naomi is his aunt. What is his aunt?
Beis, Perak Beis, Pasuk Beis.
His cousin.
Where?
No,
Perak Beis,
Naomi.
Pasuk Beis.
Beis.
Yeah. We're talking about the relationship to,
Yeah,
Beis.
I don't have that.
No? Korov ben Achiv Shalal Malachaya. You don't have Perak Beis, Pasuk Beis? Moida?
What? That's Aleph. Oh. Amr said Elimelech v'Salmoin Avi Boaz. It's Beis Aleph in mine. Uploini Almoini Hagoyel v'Avi Nami Kulam b'nei Nachshon ben Aminadav. In other words, Nachshon had 4 sons. Who were they? They were Elimelech, and they were Salmoin, the father of Boaz, Pliny Almoini, and the father of Nami. So Boaz and Machlain were first cousins.
Naomi was his aunt.
Nami's father
Was his father.
was Boaz's
Brother.
No, Nami's father was Boaz's father's brother. Because Salmon, Boaz's father, was Nami's...
Boaz's aunt, that's what he's saying, right?
What?
Saying Boaz was, Naomi was Boaz's aunt.
No.
No, cousin.
First cousin.
His father and her
Nami's father and Boaz's father were brothers. So they were first cousins, right?
first cousin.
Salmon, Boaz's father, was Nami's father's brother.
So they're cousins.
Okay? So they're first cousins. So Machloin is first cousins? Okay. So, weiter. Pasuk, the middle of the Malbim. So he did not forsake his kindness with the living, and he did not forsake his kindness with the dead. Now she explains her words. Corresponding to what she said, that he didn't forsake his chesed with the living. Ki karev lanu ha'ish. That's why he's doing chesed with his relatives who are alive. Beneged masha kasav im hamesim amra migoy aleinuhu v'hagoyal tzarchu liyabim shebezeh yigal nefesh hames. By this he'll redeem the soul of the dead leval yimacha shmai miso, so it doesn't get wiped out. But Amran, she said migoy aleinuhu, he's from our redeemers. Kiyesh oid goyal, there is another goyal v'hu echad mehem, he's one of them. Migoy aleinu, right? Pasuk chaf aleph. V'atoimer Rus hamoyaviyah gaham ki amar elai. Rus the Moabite said, he even said to me, Im hanaorim asher li tidbakin, stick to my boys. Adim kilu, until I finish es kol hakatzer asher li. Wait a second. This is rewriting history. He said stick to the girls. She's repeating stick to the guys. Rabbi Isai, Rus is given a name over here. Rus HaMoyaviyah. Really? I didn't know that. She's from Moav? You're kidding me. I mean, how many... We know that. Vayisu lahem nashim Moaviyos. Vatasha mistei Moav. Why is Rus being referred to as a Moabite? The answer is, you could tell somebody, you could teach them to wear tzitzit every day. You could teach them to run tefillin every day. You could teach them Torah. But teach them to stay away from women? No! From a right-wing, ultra-orthodox. What are you talking about? That's not... They didn't do that. When I grew up, everyone was together. It takes a long time to understand that. She's a tzaddikas, she's the great-grandma of David HaMelech. She doesn't have the Das Torah yet to understand that. Rabbi said, take a look in Pasuk Chaf Aleph. And therefore, what name do we give her? Moaviyah. V'atayim Rus HaMoaviyah. V'Rus lo hivina inyan hayibam. So she didn't get the yibam thing.
Yeah, but I mean, other places the Megillah refers to her as Rus. Why right now?
Because here's the only time where her Moabite ideas are manifest. Her background is coming in. So interesting. In the last pasuk, Naomi told her that this man is our redeemer, right? And she makes nothing of that.
She doesn't know what it means.
She doesn't know what yibum is. That's not part of the crash course in conversion. Yibum. And you know what? And if your husband, it will. So he says like this: all she understood is the relative, and that's why he's being nice. She's a Moabite. And Moabite, when Moabites make a kiddush, they don't have a mechitza. Lo hivina.
Make a kiddush altogether.
It's a joke.
They call it something else.
Yeah. Lo hivina ledayek bidvarav. So she was not in tune to be medayek in his words. She figured when Boaz said Narim, he figured that just meant the boys. She didn't pick up on the nuance. V'alzeh kara hamoyaviyah. That's why she's called Kibas Yisrael Hoysam Mavina. You could have a girl who she may not know anything, but if she grew up in a from house, she'll know what it means. She'll get it. When you tell her with the Naroi Soy, she'll get it. If she wouldn't have been a Mayaviyah, she would have chapped the Yibum. She would have understood what that meant. Bein Dvar Boyaz, she would have understood what Boyaz meant. Sha'amrim Naroi Soy. Al Kapanim. Mimasha Kosav La Mimasha Amar La Shetalakid Etzlay at Sof Yimei HaKotzir. In other words, what's Rus saying here? Nami in the last pasuk said, "Blessed is that man." You know, God bless him. Basically, why? He was nice with us, with the living, and he was nice with the dead. So, what's Rus saying in this pasuk? She's basically concurring with what Naomi just said. Yeah, he is a nice guy. Why? Because he told me to stick around until the end of the harvest. So now Naomi breaks the news to her. Hey Rus, you ain't getting what I'm telling you. I don't just mean he's a nice guy and you're going to get a lot more nuts and cashews and almonds from him. He has more to offer you than roasted peanuts. Really? No, Rus says, yeah. Naomi says, V'atoimer Naomi Rus kalasa. Toiv biti. It's good, my daughter. Kiseitziim na'aroi sav. No. You need to hang out with na'aroi sav. Hang out with the girls. Don't hang out with the guys. Because if you hang out with the guys, you're going to end up marrying one of those guys. And let nobody harm you. In other words, she's breaking the news to her that, you know what? This guy might want to marry you. Nami understands it wouldn't be good to stick around the boys. Rakim hanaoros hakoitzrois, but rather with the harvesters. Vatoimer, and she said, Toiv biti, it's good, my daughter. Kiseitziim na'aroisav. Ratzaloimer loyim ne'arav. You hear the difference? There's a difference between the word na'aroisav and ne'arav. V'chein shelo yifku b'cha b'sada acher shelo yisavayu lidei chshad. If somebody acts inappropriate in another field, they're going to come to suspect you. So the parak ends. Vatidbak. Benarois boyaz alake. So she hangs around the girls. Ad kilois katsir hasoirim till the end of the barley season, katsir achitim and the wheat season. Vateshev es chamoisan. She would return every day to her mother-in-law, says a malbim. Vatidbak v'chein asasa shadavka benarois boyaz. Ad kilois katsir hasoirim achitim. Ve'isa b'medrash zman ze nimshach Gimel chadashim shehem chodshei havchana kedin hagioires, like the love yor shloi tinasei kaidam lachein v'al kein achar avur zman ze hischila le'shtadel shetis yabim. After this, then Naomi and Boaz, they start, primarily Naomi tells her that game time. She would return to her mother-in-law. Even though she spent a lot of time in the field with the lasses of Boaz. She would only hang out in the fields as much time as she needed to gather. Once she finished the day's work, she didn't hang out with them. Ki aheves chamoisa also beliba al kulam. It was the love she had for her mother-in-law, which love conquers all. Let's do one more passing in Paragimel. So now the 3 months are over. So now Naomi realizes, it's now or never, right? We're in overtime now. Now's the chance. Va'atoimer, she says to her, Naomi chamoisa, Naomi, her mother-in-law, Biti, halo yavakesh lach manoyach. Behold, I request for you tranquility, that it should be good for you. What does manoyach mean?
You translate security.
Security? Who's he?
The stone.
The stone. Well, we had this one time earlier. We had, Naomi tells Rus, says like this. Yitein Hashem lachem Umitzena minucha isha beis isha. In other words, go find tranquility. Tranquility is a language of marriage. However, depends who you ask. But that's how it's supposed to be. Marriage is tranquility. It's peace of mind. However, it's not always good. How's that possible? It could be tranquility. Tranquility just means you've come to a certain destination. You've arrived. However, it's not always a good destination, because what if the husband is not shomer Torah mitzvahs? So he's giving her a bracha. She's giving her advice. Biti haloy avakish lach. Ratzolay kvar kalu gimel chodshei havchana. The 3 months are all over. V'yata haloy olay muta lavakish lach manach. And now I am responsible to seek respite for you. Dahainu shielacha bal, that you should have a husband. Like it said earlier, Kamasha Kasav, umitzeh, na menucha, isha beis isha. But I want it to be not only menucha, but also asher yitavlach. Shelafamim timtza monoyach v'veis bala. Sometimes you will find rest in the house of your husband. Avalo yitavla won't be good in bala. Built yishomer Torah mitzvahs. Sha'az lo yitavla, but toiv hanafshi. Ein toiv ela Torah. In other words, I want it to be good for you spiritually. Like Chazal say, that a woman who marries a moichsen, what's a moichsen? A tax collector, she gets involved in the sin. I want this not only to be good emotionally, but good spiritually as well. Rabbi say.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.